mostly banks reporting. Ali, tell us what's been the driver of these earnings results.
The driver of earnings in the UAE was mainly the increase in net interest income, which is mainly driven by the Fed interest rate increase last month. So we've started seeing this impact on the income statement of those banks. In addition, we've seen yesterday the provisions decline in the ENBD. This has been a trend for the past 2 years. Also, DIB,
right.
We've seen loan growth, which is higher than the sector.
And Ali, let's talk about Damak, because that's one stock that has soared in recent weeks. We have seen this very, very strong rally. In fact, the RSI right now, this is the chart on the Bloomberg. You can see that's been around the 70 level since the whole of July. So my question would be, is this a reflection of the strength in the UAE property market or just a bet on the company's dividend payouts?
We've seen a big move in Damak after the inclusion in the MSCI Emerging Market Index, and since then there has been a lot of interest on the name, and I can safely say that the stock has been trading at a big discount when compared to the regional blue chip MR. But the thing is, at the current levels, I believe the speculation has pushed the price further, and I believe at this point, if you look at it both from a technical perspective and from a purely fundamental, we expect that the price should go down, or when compared to MR should do much better in this current situation.
Ali, I want to pick up on one of the key themes in your notes, and that is what's happening with UAE banks. We've put this up on a chart. Dive into the Bloomberg with me. G-space hashtag BTV space 5701. Now, this is the return on equity, and what I've highlighted here is Emirates NBD at 6.2, and of course you have First Abu Dhabi Bank, but the key line here is that they're all higher than the MSCI Emerging Markets Bank Index. So far profitability has been solid by any measure. In terms of where this story goes, how much more juice is in the UAE banks trade?
I believe the UAE banks, if you compare them, if you compare the valuations and compared to the emerging market banking sector, I think there's a lot of value in the UAE, the banking sector, especially if we take into account next year the loan growth. This year, unfortunately, we've seen the sector growing at a low single digit, and which is understandable. It is a recovery year after the drop in oil prices. But I believe with the current capital adequacy ratios, and if we take into account the new rules that's coming from Basel III, I guess the UAE banking stocks or the banks are poised for high growth, and I believe there's a lot of opportunity around them.
I'm going to jump in briefly because I want to hear from you whether you think this crisis with Qatar is going to be resolved soon.
I believe the crisis shouldn't prolong. And I hope this crisis will be solved soon. It will affect positively the region.